I built a company that sells silence, the kind you hear when your app loads instantly and your screen doesn't stutter. People think I'm addicted to control because of that, because I like things fast, clean, predictable. They're not wrong, but the truth under that truth is uglier. I kept chasing control because I couldn't fix the one thing that mattered. 20 specialists, 3 hospitals, 1 cross-country miracle clinic, and still no one could tell me how to calm my son when the world got too loud for him to breathe. It was a Tuesday on the outskirts of Maple Ridge, Ohio, rain needling the windshield, my tie yanked halfway down like a white flag, when my boy Theo started to unravel in the back seat. His fists beat a frantic drum on the car seat. His shoes kicked my spine. That broken-hearted sound pouring out of him, not defiance, not attitude, just pain that had run out of words long before he was born. I pulled off the highway and into a roadside inn with a diner stitched onto it, a place with a buzzing neon sign that read Dots, and a smell like coffee had been living there since the 80s. Inside the light was the wrong kind of bright. Forks paused, conversations snagged a man in a trucking jacket, narrowed his eyes. I felt each look like a slap and did the thing every parent does when people stare. You start performing, explaining, apologizing for a kid who doesn't owe anyone an apology. I slid into a corner booth and tried the calm voice the therapists had practiced with me. Hey buddy, in and out. We're safe. Theo rocked harder. I fumbled for anything snacks, the soft toy he chews, and came up with a peach yogurt and no spoon. That's when a hand set a spoon on the table, quiet as a prayer. I looked up into the face of a woman in a housekeeper's polo name patch, stitched crooked NIA. Dark curls, pinned back eyes, the kind that hold steady while everyone else fidgets. Mind if I help, she asked, not pitying, not loud, just present. I've tried everything, I muttered, which was code for I am failing before strangers again. Everything loud, she said, the corner of her mouth quirking. Maybe let's try small. She didn't face Theo head on. She sat at an angle, hummed the barest shape of a song, not a melody so much as a stairway made of notes, and she waited. Not the waiting doctors do while glancing at a chart, the waiting you do when there's nowhere else you'd rather be. After a while, Theo's eyes slid toward the spoon, then toward her. He let her bring the yogurt to his lips. He swallowed, then another spoonful, then a breath so deep his shoulders finally dropped. It took me a second to realize my hands were shaking under the table. When I found my voice, I whispered, "How did you—" "My brother," she said. Noise grabs him by the throat. "Small helps. What's his name? Micah." She smiled at Theo like she already knew him. "World gets bright, little man. Me too." The trucker cleared his throat behind us, the harsh kind of sound that pulls shame up by the roots. "Some folks don't belong in restaurants," he muttered to no one. I turned ready to fight a stranger and lose in front of my son, but Nia beat me to it. She didn't stand. She just said soft and surgical, "You don't have to understand it, to leave it alone." The man looked at her, looked at Theo, found no audience, and went back to his eggs with the slow humiliation of a bully who didn't earn his scene today. "Thank you." I exhaled. She nodded toward my boy. He told me what he needed. I just listened. Then to me, "When was the last time you ate?" I laughed humorless. "Sometime before the last specialist told me to add more screens and fewer carbs." "You look like a collapsed tent," she said. "Stay put. I'll bring toast. Nobody cries on Toast's watch." I wanted to hire her right there, which is the most CEO thing I've ever thought in a moment that didn't need a CEO. Instead I said, "I'm Avery." I know she said like it didn't change a thing. "Your face is on the tech news. They say you don't blink." I must have missed the day they taught blinking. "Try it now," she said, and I realized I'd been staring so hard my eyes hurt. The toast came, and Theo dozed without the tightness he wears like armor. I told her the edit of my life, the wife I lost, the kid I'm learning from the board, sharpening their knives after every quarterly call. Nia told me hers without romance, a night shift mum, a brother who calms for rhythm and routine, 2 jobs that almost cover rent, a textbook borrowed so many times the corners learned everyone's name. "Come to Harbour City," I blurted before my better judgment could tackle me. "My foundation helps families like yours. It has money and good intentions and holes. I'm building a house from blueprints and you've actually lived in the storm." "You don't know me," she said. "I saw you speak a language 20 doctors missed." She shook her head. I clean rooms and stock carts. People hear that and assume I stop thinking when the vacuum's full. Spend a weekend, I said. No promises. If it's wrong, you never have to see my unblinking face again. She smirked. Throw in coffee that doesn't taste like a burnt apology. Deal. Here's the part the headline leaves out. She didn't heal my son like he was a problem to fix, and she didn't save me like I was a damsel strapped to a track. What she did was worse for pride and better for everything else. She made it impossible for me to pretend expertise could replace humility. At the foundation, I walked her through our glossy floors and framed mission statements the way rich men try to apologize to the universe with glass and brushed steel. Staffing crisp name tags queued up acronyms. Nia listened, hands in her pockets, head tilted like she was locating the leak inside our beautiful ship. We sat in a meeting with my board where the air always smells faintly of disinfected fear. Lyle, the chair, wore the expensive smile of a man who collects other people's ideas like cufflinks. Ms. Carter, is it? He said, checking his notes as if her name might catch fire. We're excited to hear a community perspective. Nia glanced at me. Are we doing this? And then at them. You've got a lot of experts, she said. Looks like a hospital lobby in here. But if your plans don't survive a grocery store meltdown at 5 p.m., they're pretty on paper and nowhere else. A hum rippled. Dr. Vale, our clinical director, folded her hands. We don't design policy around anecdotes. Nia's eyes stayed kind. Her words didn't. You call it an anecdote. I call it Tuesday. You want data count how many parents stop going outside because stairs cut deeper than budgets. Count how many kids learn that the world has no room for their volume. Lyle made a tiny sound like a coin dropping. We appreciate passion, Ms. Carter, but operating at scale is the problem you throw at the poor, she said, still gentle. You say it like it's math when it's really mercy. He leaned back, practice chuckle ready. This is a boardroom, not a church. Maybe that's the issue, she replied. All this glass and no windows. I was supposed to step in, smooth the moment, remind everyone our brand was listening. Instead I said, she's right. The room recalibrated, the sound of armor shifting. We cancelled our experts-only panel that afternoon and hosted a town hall in the basement of a church 2 blocks away. Folding chairs, poor lighting, an honor guard of toddlers losing negotiations with gravity. Parents told the truth with the practice of people who have to repeat themselves for every receptionist and every form. Nia didn't run the mic like a host. She ran it like a midwife, coaxing, quieting, making room. I watched our staff, brilliant, trained as the light changed behind their eyes, that sharp refocus when theory finally meets Tuesday. Back at the office, the pushback came crisp and typed. Lyle wanted guardrails. Dr. Vale wanted controlled pilots. My PR lead wanted stories that won't depress donors. Nia stood in a doorway, not asking permission to speak, just refusing to disappear. Parents don't need you to fix their kids, she said. They need you to stop fixing the parents. We can't fund feelings, Lyle snapped. Funny, Nia said, because that's what you've been selling me since I walked in, the feeling that you care. I ought to tell you it was simple after that. It wasn't. We made mistakes. We rolled out sensory-friendly hours at grocery chains. 2 stores followed through. One bailed the second. A customer complained about dim lights. We funded mini-grants for caregivers. A clerk misfiled invoices, and we almost missed rent for 3 families. Every win had a blister. Every blister taught us something paperwork never will. At home, change was messier and more holy. Theo learned to sleep, sometimes not always, but enough that mornings didn't feel like a hangover without the party. He pressed his palm to my cheek one afternoon and held it there like he was testing whether I was real. I cried the quiet, kind forehead against the side of a 7-year-old who just taught me presence without a single word. The board called a vote 3 weeks later not to fire me. They wouldn't risk the headlines to reassess strategic alignment. You could smell the ambush through the agenda. I went anyway because running is a young man's game and I am tired of being young in all the wrong ways. They did the dance. We have fiduciary duties, Lyle intoned. We can't be led by sentiment. He aimed it like a dart at Nia, who sat in the back row in her housekeeper's polo, because she refused the blazer I offered. Our livelihoods depend on structure. Your livelihoods, she echoed, standing. Their lives. Lyle turned annoyed that the furniture had opinions. "Miss Carter, this is a closed session." "No, it's not," I said, before I could think about donors and optics. "She stays." Dr. Vale folded her arms. "Then answer this, Ms. Carter. What qualifies you to advise medical programming?" Nia didn't flinch. "The last time my brother shattered a plate because the kitchen light hummed at the wrong pitch, I bled cleaning it up. That's my credential. I have more if you need them." Silence. Sometimes victory sounds like a room giving up its excuses. We didn't win the vote that day, not on paper. What we won was uglier for pride and better for the work. 2 board members resigned, 1 out of protest, 1 out of relief. The ones who stayed had to look themselves in the face without 3 layers of glass between them and the world. On a quiet Friday, I found Nia in the break room stacking donated sensory kits into boxes. "You're making me look competent," I told her. "You were already competent," she said. "You just needed to learn to be kind on purpose." I meant to tell her thank you. What came out was, "I think about you too much." She tightened the tape on a box and set the roll down. "I think about you too." She didn't smile. She didn't move closer. "We're both allergic to messes we can't clean in one shift. If this us ever costs Theo anything, that's the day I walk," she said. "That's the day I hold the door for you," I replied, "and then I fire myself." She laughed soft as that first hum in the diner. "Blink Avery." I did. For once it didn't feel like surrender. Weeks later, in a room with ugly carpet and better light, Theo walked in holding a plastic stegosaurus. He looked at Nia, then at me, then back at Nia. "Hey," he said, casual and catastrophic, like the word had just been waiting for a reason. My knees forgot I was a grown man with a public company. Nia didn't clap. She didn't cry. She lowered herself to his level and offered her palm. He set the dinosaur in it, like a knight offering a sword to a queen he trusted. I wish the doctors who told me acceptance is the goal could have stood there and felt the shape of that moment. Acceptance mattered, it still does. But acceptance without curiosity is just resignation with nicer shoes. The world hasn't become kind because I signed some checks and learned how to listen. A kid still gets shushed in a library for breathing too hard. A mum still cries in a parking lot because a stranger called her weak. A board still quotes policy like scripture. But there are also grocery aisles on Thursdays from 4 to 6, where the lights dim and the speakers mute, and nobody glares. There are teachers who email our foundation to say, "We tried your 5-minute rhythm breaks. 3 kids smiled for the first time this month. There are nights when my son sleeps, and when he doesn't, I sit, and I don't plan an escape." We drove back through Maple Ridge last month, the neon at Diots, still pretending it can scare off the dark. I parked in the same spot and we went inside. The trucker wasn't there, it didn't matter. I carried 2 spoons in my pocket anyway. Not because I expected a scene, but because winning for us looks like being ready when small helps. If you're still listening, here's my ask, the only call to action I know how to make without selling you something. Tell me what you've seen. Tell me where I'm wrong. Is it soft to change a boardroom because a woman in a housekeeper's polo told the truth? Is it justice to dim the lights for a kid who lives in a world that refuses to dim for him? Have you been the person who got judged for being loud, for being tired, for being different, or the person who walked past without looking? Drop your story below the ugly, the brave, the ordinary Tuesday, and let's argue about it like people who plan to stay in the room. Because the next policy we write, the next grant, we fund the next stranger who hums a stairway out of panic. It should start with someone like you reminding someone like me to blink.